Hello, this is D, and I'm back with another video. And today we're going to discuss Microsoft closing various studios over at Bethesda. Now, this news broke yesterday, and I actually recorded a video. And as I was going to edit it, I realized that the audio was non-existent. So I didn't have enough time to redo it. I had to go into the office. So today we're going to cover this issue. And I think it's a little bit better anyways, because we have a little bit more clarity on the story. As well, we have the sentiments from gamers across all spectrums. And I gotta say, no matter how you want to spin this is not a good thing. Now we're gonna go over to the article at theverge.com like usual. I'll leave a link in the description down below so you guys can check it out for yourself. Now the article goes on to say an email sent to staff yesterday morning, head of the Xbox game studio Matt Booty announced the closure of several game studios including Redfall developer Arcane Austin, Hi-Fi Rush developer Tango Gameworks, Alpha Dog Games, and more. According to the email, as first reported by IGN, Booty wrote the reason for the closures was due to reprioritization of titles and resources. Some staff at the affected studios will be relocated while other studios will be completely shut down. Redfall developer Arcane will close with some of its members' teams joining other studios to work on projects across Bethesda. Redfall's previous update will be its last as Microsoft is ending all the development on the game. Servers will remain online for players to enjoy, and we will provide a make good offer to players who purchase the Hero DLC, said Matt Booty. So, okay, I guess that's good for the people that were all into that game, but I don't know how many people are playing that game at this point. There's like 5 people playing that game. Like, I'm not trying to be, sinister about it, but there aren't a lot of people playing Redfall. It was a terrible game. But it's good to see that these developers, they're going to have some other purpose throughout Microsoft, so it doesn't look like they're going to be out of work. Now, Hi-Fi Rush developer Tango Gameworks is closing, and it doesn't appear that any member of the team will join other Bethesda studios. Hi-Fi Rush will continue to be available to players on the platforms it is today, says Booty, and Hi-Fi Rush only just debuted on PlayStation 5 after receiving multiple accolades, award nominations, and critical praise. Aaron Greenberg, Vice President of Xbox Games Marketing, wrote on X that Hi-Fi Rush was a breakout hit for all of us in all key measurements and expectations. Now, before we go a little bit further here, we just got to dissect this a little bit. Now, when we're looking here, we see that Redfall developers Arcane Austin, they're going to get repurposed throughout Microsoft in different Bethesda studios. That game was awful. Now, I'm not saying that studio is a bad studio. That was a miss for sure. But they're all going to have work. But when we see Hi-Fi Rush developer Tango Gameworks is closing completely and nobody in that team is joining other Bethesda studios, I got a problem with that. Redfall was a dud. Like I said, they made other good games, but Hi-Fi Rush was a critical hit. It is doing great on the PlayStation right now. A lot of people were looking forward to Hi-Fi Rush 2. That is not going to happen. Why would you close this studio off the heels of a very successful game? What does this say to other developers throughout Microsoft? If you develop a good game, you can still get canned? It makes no sense. And on top of that, to add salt to the wounds, these guys are not going to have another position within Microsoft. That is absolutely criminal. And I don't care what other Xbox channels want to say. I don't care what Xbox fans want to say. This is wrong. And if you don't see a problem with this, then perhaps you are the problem. And like I've said many times, I believe a lot of fans are the reason why Microsoft, why Xbox specifically is in this situation. Because you guys don't stand up and say anything. You really don't. It's clear to me that Microsoft is only concerned about their bottom dollar. Because you had a hit with Hi-Fi Rush and you just closed down the studio. And on top of that, the developers, the talented developers that were there are not going to have work in any of your studios that are gaming in Xbox. And that is just absolutely ridiculous. Now, before I go on a long rant, I'm just going to say this. Sony on Helldivers 2, they tried to make everybody have a PSN account. PC Gamer said, we are not going for that. This is not it. They started to refund the game. Steam was giving them refunds. Didn't matter if they had the game for 3 weeks or played it 1,000 hours. They were giving refunds. Many countries pulled it from their game store. Sony was forced to reverse course, and guess what? Today, Helldivers 2 is not getting that update. You don't need to have a PlayStation account to play that game. If Xbox gamers were vocal and said, hey, we don't like this, Microsoft would also have to change its course. Because the bottom line is you, the consumer. They're trying to sell games and their services to you. If you voice your opinion that you're not going for that, and you prove it, and you all come out in numbers, they have to change course because you are their consumer. You are the reason why they thrive. You have power. I just don't understand this. Why Xbox gamers never say anything when Xbox does something wrong. That's all I got to say on that. Okay, we're going to get back into the article, but I just had to say that, man. Now, Alpha Dog is the third game studio closure and developers of the of the mobile game Mighty Doom game. Now, Mighty Doom will be sunset on August 7th and will be turning off the ability for players to make any purchases in the game. Microsoft is also moving the team to Roundhouse Studios into ZeniMax Online Studios to work more closely with Elder Scrolls Online. So even these guys that made a really small, I don't know how big the game is, but they made a mobile game. And even these guys, they're going to have jobs throughout Microsoft. But the wonderful guys over at Tango Gameworks that made a fantastic surprise hit with Hi-Fi Rush, they're no longer going to have a job and they no longer have a studio to work for. That is just unbelievable. And to make matters worse, to show you how tone deaf Microsoft is, they released a controller on the same day with the verbiage, "Feel the burn today with the Fire Vapor Special Edition controller." Like, I know someone didn't do this on purpose, but it just shows you the disconnect between all of the departments. It's like they're discombobulated. It's unbelievable. You let go, so many people lose their jobs. Developers, studios, they're closed down. And this is the verbiage on your controller. Who cares about your damn controller? These developers were let go. So Microsoft's pushing a lot of controllers. Seems to be like they're pushing more controllers than games, because I just can't wrap my head around why Tango Gameworks was closed down when they had such a successful game with Hi-Fi Rush that was a surprise release. It dropped out of nowhere and it did fantastic. It got rave reviews, and once again, it's receiving rave reviews on the PlayStation platform. Now, to be fair, today when I look, I see that they did adjust the language, as Tom Warren is reporting, and now they're saying introducing the Fire Vapor Special Edition controller. But the damage was done. It just shows how, disconnected and insensitive Microsoft is. I just don't understand what's going on there. These are great developers that made a fantastic game, and you just can their studio and they don't even have a purpose within your organization. You're telling me you can't find a place for these developers that made this fantastic game? This really upsets me, and I just don't understand why more Xbox gamers are not talking about that. Why it's just always, yeah, whatever, you're just a hater, or, you like Sony, or you're a pony. It's just ridiculous. Call a spade a spade. So I'm going to Tripster's post over here, and he's going to highlight the games that we'll no longer receive. Dishonored, forget about it. Prey, forget about it. The Evil Within, forget about it. Redfall, good riddance. Rage was pretty good. Ghostwire Tokyo. Now, I'm not into that game, but it did get good reviews. It got good reviews on the PlayStation. Apparently, it was a good game. People liked it. You won't have a sequel to it. That studio is gone. Deathloop and Hi-Fi Rush. Now, wasn't it the reason of buying Bethesda so that you would have lots of games on your service, on your platform, that you could sustain Game Pass, and you're going and shutting down these studios that make very good games? Because the only one that I can say on here that is lackluster truly is Redfall. Ghostwire Tokyo, it's not my type of game, but I can't completely say that it's a lackluster game because a lot of people enjoyed it. Deathloop, the concept was pretty cool. How, you have to go back and do everything if you die at a certain point. That was pretty cool. The Evil Within, most people like that game. Prey, we all know Prey's an OG. Prey is good. Dishonored, not really my type of game, but a lot of people liked it. I have to put a little correction in here because I was recording the video and I did make a mistake. On this list, Deathloop and Dishonored are crossed out. Arcane Lions is still open, so that studio has not been closed down. Perhaps they will be, but they're not as of this moment. So Deathloop lives on, as well as Dishonored. But Prey, The Evil Within, Redfall, Rage, Ghostwire Tokyo, and Hi-Fi Rush, these games are confirmed to no longer be coming back on the Xbox platform, or I should say, to not be getting sequels. These fantastic studios no longer will make these games, so my point still stands. This is just not a good day for a company that is trying to get a subscription service to have it be sustainable. You just don't close on all these studios and get rid of these games, and I just don't know what Microsoft is doing these days. The Xbox brand, I don't know how content creators are creating positive content about Xbox. I just can't sit here and lie to you guys just for the sake of putting out content. And I know a lot of Xbox gamers are upset with me. I see it in the comment section, but I gotta be honest with you guys, I'm gonna say the truth. And I know some of you guys just don't like this. You don't want to hear the truth. You don't want to hear that Xbox is losing. You don't want to hear that Xbox is not doing the right moves. You don't want to hear anything about PlayStation that just triggers you. But it is what it is. And if you really, truly want Xbox to be great, you have to address it and let your voice be known. Otherwise, things are never going to change. They will remain the same because you guys, the consumers, you accept it. Now, I understand Arcane Austin closing down. I'm not going to be completely blind to the situation because Redfall was a disaster. But the fact that these guys are getting repurposed within Microsoft and Tango Gameworks, these developers are not, it's just blowing my mind, honestly. Now, I don't really have much more to say to add to this. You know I kind of yelled and screamed. Some guy was in the comment on the last video, "Stop yelling, D." But you know what? When I see this stuff going down and I see gamers not being vocal or not talking on the right things just because it's Xbox and I love Xbox and you could never say anything bad about Xbox. And if you're a content creator and you say something bad about Xbox and you cover Xbox on your channel, suddenly you're the ops and you're a pony or you're a pony bot, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. And these guys, I just think they need to grow up because most of these guys are not even kids, they're grown-ass men, and it's just ridiculous. Like, a lot of games are getting canned here. A lot of developers lost their jobs. It affects the bottom line of an Xbox gamer because we want games on our platform. We were rejoicing that Microsoft bought Bethesda, the ABK deal. We need to see this play out. We need to see these games on the platform. And before any of these studios can get started, they're getting axed and their studios are getting axed. And you can see for yourself on the list here of these games that you'll never see sequel to on the Xbox platform: Hi-Fi Rush, Ghostwire, Rage, Redfall, The Evil Within, Prey. You're not going to see them ever again on Xbox in a sequel. And that's just unbelievable. That is a lot of games. That is a lot of franchises. And these games, they all sold pretty well outside of Redfall. So it's absolutely ridiculous. And it's just asinine to me that the developers that created Hi-Fi Rush no longer have a studio and no longer have a job within Xbox Game Studios. And it's just unbelievable to me. Anyways, I don't know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments section down below. The video that I did the other day about Tim going over to PlayStation and his displeasure with Xbox is kind of starting to make sense now. And you can't really blame the guy for not wanting to have to deal with this because this is insane. It's insanity. A company that needs games to compete, a company that has a Game Pass service that is to bring out multiple games a month, which is pretty much their bread and butter right now. Game Pass is what's really making Xbox relevant. Their console sales, I don't want to say they're horrible because 25 million, sure, that's a lot sold, but it's not a lot compared to the 55 million consoles that the PlayStation 5 has sold. Now, I think maybe the Xbox might be at 30 million at this point. I think it is 30 million, and PlayStation 5 is at 55 million, approaching 60 million. There's still a big divide there. And when you're canning studios and you're canceling franchises that many gamers want and like, it just doesn't bode well for the Xbox ecosystem. Anyways, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Like I usually say, please like, share, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys on the next one.